Good morning, community. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday to each of you. As I was up early this morning praying for me and praying for you as well, I realize, you all, that today is the final day of this first quarter of the year. And I said to myself, I'm proud of me and I'm proud of Jen and I'm proud of you. Y'all, we made a commitment in the end of December 2022 that we would come in and that we would be here daily from Monday through Fridays, building our connection with God and building our connection with one another. And look, we have made it through the first quarter of the year. So I'm over here clapping it up. Tiffany, I see you clapping for us already. Yes, y'all go ahead and lean on the love button. Jen and I are going to sit in that love on this morning. If you genuinely appreciate the sacrifice, the time, the effort in like reading and studying and putting together lessons, and she and I chopping it up on scene, behind the scenes, throughout the week, planning and preparing so that we could be ready to do the work of love, the service of love that God has assigned to our lives. If you really can say that you have benefited from being here, I want you to just lean on that love button later when I'm able to go back and watch. And when she goes back to watch, we'll see all of this service of love. Yeah, Jen, you're saying service of love. That's what it is. We genuinely love you. We genuinely desire to serve you. So one more time, lean on the love button. One more time, clap it on up. Soliciting my own good applause on this morning. But yeah, I'm proud of me and I'm proud of Jen. And I'm proud of you too. And why am I saying that? It's certainly not to bring glory to myself, but it is to give appreciation and awareness of what God is doing in the lives of each of us. I don't believe that I am the only one who's stepping up to the plate and who's saying, God, I'm going to walk in what you've called me to do. And so this is where we're starting right here, Swan. So many in the community have heard me say, I'm too global to be local, but I know that the Lord spoke to me to be faithful in this and watch him be faithful. So I was telling Jen, even on this morning, as I was reflecting on where we're going based on what we've begun to really do here, I understand that y'all lean in close and get the names of the folk who riding with us already. So you'll know your A1s since day ones, but God is going to multiply exponentially our audience right here in the community. He is going to explode our reach. He is going to multiply the sound, the soundness, the stability, the solidness of who we are as women. It is going to transfer throughout this earth realm. You are going to see hubs of communities where women like yourselves, wherever you are, Teresa, wherever you are, Brashonda in Ohio, wherever you are, Mary Carey in Dallas, wherever people are listening from, where women are beginning to rise up and to take their wellness place. They're beginning to rise up and say that my voice matters and what I think matters and my peace is priceless. And so you're going to see more and more of this type of work sweeping the scenes. And I'm so grateful to be at the onset of it, particularly within the body of Christ. Many of you have heard me say that between being culturally in many teachings that told us don't talk about it, and then being in the body of faith, which often told us only talk to Jesus about it, you have a lot of women who remain silent and they are not well. A lot of women who have suffered silently, thinking that they are the only one facing or transitioning through whatever they're going through. The women have for years packed the sorrow and the shame of their divorces or their estrangement or their abuse or their child who has mental illnesses or their children who are transitioning through identity moments, and they've packed those addictions and packed those that poverty insecurity or packed that low self-esteem in silence. They have gone up to the altar time after time after time and not ever had the courage or the safe space to articulate their for real prayer requests, have walked to the altar and asked for people to pray because they need, extra resources for their bills, and not even mention the fact that they're journeying through suicidal thoughts. But God is sweeping through and he is healing us. He's allowing kingdom citizens to arise and mature women to arise who will say, your scars are safe with me. Your struggle is safe with me. Your secrets, my ears can handle it and my mouth won't tell it. God is restoring us to being that space where he said, you overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of your testimony. But he has already established safe places for people to give us their test and their moaning. And we walk through their test and their moaning until they get to a testimony of victory on the other side. Do you hear me on this morning? God is creating that. And so I hold space for that. And I continue to deputize and call forth other people who have that same calling on your life. You're not quite clear of what your women's ministry will look like, and you don't necessarily envision yourself perhaps teaching or preaching from pulpits. Some of you do, but you do know that you have a call for women. You do know that you already identify as I'm speaking, something in you is leaping because you know that you're called to create safe havens for women to walk through their test and their moaning until they get to the testimony that emphasizes that they're now victorious. You know that you want to sign up for that. Well, God already has your name written on the roll call for that. And I'm telling you, as I've said before, I'm not the only one who exists with that call. I know that there are other women who have that call. I know that this is a hub for you to come in and get restored and get refueled and get refreshed. And then you go out and you do your thing to help rescue women as well. So I'm proud of us. I say that sincerely. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of me for answering the call, because there were days, as I shared before, where I didn't even really think that what I do was classified as ministry per se. And one of my mentor sister friends, Terry Theo, went ahead and pushed me and told me that the world needs what I have to offer. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of Jen, who's gotten up faithfully with me. Even today, that's why you see more of this virtual background, because I'm so committed. I'm in North Carolina. Just I want to say on Tuesday night, I was speaking in DISD. I had to get on a flight at that next morning and fly here to North Carolina, where I am in the hotel, in the hotel. So maybe the people next to me are getting some stuff as well. And we're here because I'm working on a project, and I'm only sharing these things because of the doors that God is opening. Working on the project with Wells Fargo, and we're getting ready to implement a round of grants that's over $8 million. God has taken this country girl from Somerville and allowed me to serve in this capacity with the city of Houston. And then I'll be jumping on a plane shortly after meetings here today and flying back into Houston, only to drive into Caldwell. So if there's anybody down on that end who wants to jump in with me, driving to be the keynote at the Chamber of Commerce annual banquet. And so my life is picking up, but I've told y'all, I'm too global to be local, but I ain't gonna ever act funny with y'all. Cause this here right here, everybody say this here right here, this here right here, this is the community. But I share all of those things as I reflect over this first quarter of the year. And I realize that God has been who he said he would be, but I'm so sure of this. My spirit knows this, that God is not a respecter of persons. What he has done for me, y'all, he has already established for you. God already has plans that are bigger than you can imagine, with your name on them. And we are over here doing the work to restore our minds and to receive what God has. Keisha, I remind us, as I said before, there used to be days when I would stand outside of the door, y'all. I would stand outside of the door, hoping that the leader of this organization had already moved far enough into his presentation that he would not call on me impromptu. Do you understand me? What God can do so that I second guess my voice. I second guess what I brought to the table. I second guess the criticalness of my thinking. I see details. I'm going to challenge. I'm going to ask difficult questions and still be team you, but I'm going to pick it apart so that we do all of that in private. And there are organizations and there are spaces where that is not welcome. But I've watched how God, in the way that He has wired me, I'm now no longer standing outside of the door. I'm now receiving contracts to come inside of the door and bring this voice and bring this critical thinking mind that understands strategies and techniques. And this I know, again, what God has done for me. God has already put those same victories in the past of each of you, but it is our mindset. Think of this. If I continue to doubt my voice, if I continue to doubt the validity of my style of ministry, imagine the things that the world would be lacking. Well, so goes it for you. That's why it's so important to be here, to be committed. I've asked you to give me 1 year to teach and to help you transition and pull down. Everybody, hands up, pulling it down. Pull down every thought that seeks to exalt itself against what God has said over your life. Every cliche, every indoctrination, every what my mama and them said, every what I've said about me, every false teaching, every wrong teaching, every teaching out of context. We pull that stuff down in the name of Jesus, and we step into, by faith, what God has said about who we are. What God has said about who we are. That finished her that God has already established, not when you got in your mom's womb. It says He knew before you were even in the womb, before the sperm even met the egg, y'all. Before the sperm even connected with the egg, before humanity had any influence over you, God already knew. I love coming into that realization even the more, as my sister and I were talking the other day. I said, when God formed us, she said, no. When God knew us, knew was before the form. Do you get that? Knew came before the form. God knew us before we were even formed, before human beings had anything to do with it. God knew who Tiffany would be. God knew who Jennifer would be. God knew who Charlotte would be, who Alicia would be, who Sharice would be. I invite you to say out loud your own name. God knew exactly who you would be. Now we are doing the work to pull down every human error that has happened in our mind. And then we're stepping by faith into who He has established her to be. Whoever that is for you, God knew that before the world was even, before you were even formed. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the lesson. Obviously, I'm coming in here running with a whole lot to say. This is, hey, Dark, it's good to see you, sis. I've been praying for you and I'm so proud. Man, I'm so proud. So here's the thing, y'all. This is the last lesson for this whole quarter of the year. Our focus has been on shifting our minds to see ourselves like God sees us. So I invite us one more time. I want you to think of your best word. I want you to think of your best word. Like I want you to think of that good word. And here's where we're sealing this teaching for this first quarter of the year. I see blank me. Man, whatever that is. I see global me. I see global me. Now, again, I hold space for you. For those of you who are responding to this in the comments by faith, those of you who are still struggling with seeing yourself, we hold space. We don't judge over here. We do call you to the carpet. Y'all know we do that, but we don't judge you. So your comment, drop it into the comments. I see blank me, and you fill that out. Man, Swan, you just bless my heart. I see yours. You say, I see whole me. I see whole me. Swan, I come in full agreement. Those of you who are dropping in, I'm already praying. I see whole you as well. I see someone else said, I see protected me. Yes, Jen, I'm coming into full agreement with that. I see healthy and whole me is what someone said. I see healed me. I see healed me is what Brashonda is also saying. I see future me is what Elois is saying. I see better me. Come on, better. I see confident me. I see successful me. Y'all, as other queens are adding theirs into the comments, go ahead and put some hearts and put some love into the atmosphere. I see that me. Yeah, I'm saying I see global me. Oh, y'all get the gifts ready. I see married me. I'm going to have the biggest bridal shower ever with the community. I see established me. I see delivered me. I see fearless me. I see free me. I see victorious me. I'm saying amen. I see proud me. Man, I see me. I see bold me. Yes, come on with it then. I see worldwide me. I come in full agreement with you, Deborah. I see wholesome me. I see loved me. Man, I see confident me. I see that a couple of times. God is so faithful and he is so good. And so, how do we maintain the me that we see? So throughout this week, we've talked about that erasure process, that process that causes us to disappear, to be plucked away at, to be scraped away at, just kind of invisible. And Lori, congratulations on your anniversary too. I see. How do we protect that me? Well, we've talked about the process a bit. We've talked about the implications of staying in those dynamics. And today, what we're going to settle with, I'm going to give us a very strategic tool on how do we maintain, how do we protect. So one more time for this first quarter of the year, welcome to the community where we are over here being better together. Go ahead and do your roll call check-in, because like this is the last lesson of this quarter. Tomorrow is the last prayer of this quarter. We're going to call each of you by name. So go ahead and do your check-in, and then let's run over here to this good scripture so that I can give us a quick tool for today. And then I'm gonna get ready to go over to where we are doing our final wrap-ups here in North Carolina and get on this plane so I can get all the way back down there and teach again. So here we go. Our scripture for today, we're on page number 67. The scripture says, one who has unreliable friends soon come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18:24. God sees me as connected, so I see me as connected. God sees me as connected, so I see me as connected. How do I maintain this personhood, this visible me that I am working hard to see? This visible me that I'm pulling back scars. I'm moving past negative experiences. I'm pulling down erroneous thoughts and teachings. I'm quieting my own self doubts and imposter syndrome. How do I maintain that me that I see? So y'all may want to get ready to do some quick snapshots of the screen. I'm telling you in advance. I'm going to give you 2 slides. I'm going to move through them quickly so that I can just put this into our space and we can wrap up Elanora for this week. All right. So here's what I have for you. Oftentimes we come into the world and we exist in this world kind of just open-ended, right? We exist not really. I mean, we come on out in this world and we just start growing and engaging and doing the best that we know to do with what we have. And so when we show up, I envision it kind of like this. Since we're on screen, we're not in person, I'll use this scenario. Imagine all of the black that you see is just the landscape of your life, whether you're coming in and you're 3, you're 4, you're 5, you're 6, you're 20. Many of us just come just open-ended, y'all, and we don't know differently. We've not been taught a lot of the constructs and a lot of the things that we're now becoming aware of. And that's not an accusation, that's just a realization. And when we know better, we do better. So we kind of come into the world just open-ended. We go into our elementary school years, our kindergarten years, and whoever we happen to connect with and sit next to or ride on the bus with or walk with from the neighborhood, they just begin to take up space in our lives. We don't really have established filters per se. We don't really have constructs to really understand how to navigate in this world as it relates to our friendships, as it relates to our dating ships, as it relates to our colleagueships and church ships and all of the ships, all of the ships that sail into the framework of our lives. And so we just kind of exist, and we get into high school, and whether we fit into certain groups because we play soccer together, or we're in the band together, or we're cheerleaders together, however that happens, however our life just bumps and goes, it's just this open field. That's pretty much what it looks like for lots of human beings. It's just the way that that is. But we have a whole generation of people who are starting conversations at a much earlier age with the young people who they have influence over, and they're beginning to help them develop constructs at a much earlier age because it's so critical. As a quick digression, I even did a reel or a quick video yesterday because I was moved. Because again, and I'm saying again, y'all hear me? Again, just this past Saturday, I was at another funeral of a son of one of my dear friends, and that anguish that hits the heart of parents when their children are killed by senseless gun violence, it is a very real thing. But particularly in these scenarios where I continue to find myself in that space, oftentimes these children are killed by people that for the most part they knew, they were associated with, they were frenemies. And I'm telling you all, I'm saying this with every bit of seriousness that is in my heart as a former educator who've walked the halls of many school settings and have engaged in many young youth activities, have been very engaged on college campuses as an adjunct professor and the like. Y'all, that frenemy stuff and normalizing, allowing people to exist in a space with you who are not completely for you, that's dangerous. That's junk. That's a mindset that needs to be gone away with. We need not normalize frenemies. We need not normalize people allowing others to exist in their space for whom they can already pick up from either the energy or the jokes that are at their expense or the snide comments or the back talking. We need to not normalize that because the cost of that is too great for our young people. It is too great. And that is why many of our young people today, whether they're on the vacation trips together, and we've heard of the death that recurs, or the basketball team together, or the girlfriend who's cut up and in a freezer by her boyfriend, like all of those different dynamics, it sometimes is here because we've normalized allowing people to be in our spaces who we understand are not fully for us. But the cost for young people today, it is too great. And if I go to one more funeral where I have to hear dear friends' agony and moanings and tears, that breaks the heart. Y'all, that's my digression. So I'm gonna come back to here. These relationship constructs, we have to teach them with a greater awareness that the price of not talking about it and not expressing it and not deep diving into it, it's too great. It's too great. It costs our young people too much. So here's what I want us to see. Quickly, I'm going to give us just this one slide. And it just represents self constructs around relationships. And how do we really begin to be advocates for ourselves? Everybody say that out loud. Say self advocacy. Self advocacy. How do I advocate for me? How do I ensure that I'm well? The first step in that is twofold. It's recognizing that you have a right to be well, while simultaneously recognizing that you have the responsibility to be well. Unapologetically, you have the right to be well, but at the same time, you own the responsibility of being well. No one is responsible for ensuring that you are well, like you are responsible for ensuring that you are well. Self advocacy. You have the right to be well, and you have the responsibility of being well. Hear me on that. No one is responsible for your happiness. No one is in totality responsible for your peace. There are relationships that we are in where they should cooperate, collaborate, cooperate, be aligned with it, but they are not responsible for it. We've heard it in so many ways. You teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to handle you. You have a right to be well, but you also have the responsibility of your own wellness. So, self advocacy, learning how to have those healthy spheres in your life instead of existing just open ended, like the previous slide, like this one, instead of just existing open ended, where whoever shows up and knocks on your life, whoever just engages in it, whoever just inherits a space because they the friend of a so and so. So now you invite them over to the house too, because that's your friend's best friend's cousin. And so she came with her. And so everybody just come. Instead of just existing like that, it's being able to put spears in your life, right? That allows you to advocate for you. And so, what happens in these spears? What happens in these spears is first off, y'all, we're very clear about what makes us well. We're very clear about it. That's the first step in creating your spheres for wellness and for self advocacy. You have to be sure about what makes you well. So we're going to use that kind of in that red space. That red is representing a love for ourselves. It's our heart space. So everybody jump into the comments and let's do the work quickly. I'm going to go over just a little bit to wrap up today's lesson because it's the last one of the year. So Jen, even if you have to exit, I got it for today. We're going to get this out and then we're going to get off of here. Okay. So this is what this looks like. Everybody in your heart space, in that red space, tell me something that makes you well. What do you know about you that makes you well? Like, what would be your top priority? What is your non-negotiable? It makes you well. One thing for me, as you all are taking your time to answer that question, is easing into my morning. It's easing into my morning. My mornings are normally very full. I might find myself, for example, like the day that I had to catch the flight at 5 a.m. in the morning, I didn't end my day until 10, 11 something at night. And so easing into my morning, like having peace at the top of my morning, it's what works for me. So you need to be very, very specific, like know a particular thing that works for you. So Sharice, I see you saying my peace, but what defines your peace for you? What does that look like? Give me a very tangible example. So I see people saying having my quiet time. Very good. That's very concrete. That gives you something that you can measure. I see Swan says getting enough rest. What does that actually look like for you, Swan? Because enough may vary for different people. So are you saying you need 2 hours of sleep? Or are you saying you got to get you about 7 hours of sleep in? What does it look like for you? I see people saying something like my me time. What does that look like for you? Are you saying that you need about 30 minutes a day? Or are you saying that for you, that would be every afternoon you sit with God for about 30 minutes? What's a specific thing that works for you? For me, when I say I like to ease into my morning, that means that I've set a time. And prior to that time, unless it's an emergency or it's my mom, I'm very selective about phone calls that I take before that time. Now, in particularly, and this is just transparent talk, when I know out of pattern, when certain people call me, it's mostly for drama. I just don't take those calls unapologetically because I'm not starting the top of my day with that type of something. When I'm trying to be very focused, when I'm trying to be peaceful, most often I won't take them at all. But if it is something that seems a bit more pressing or urgent, or again, it's my mom, I may answer. But before that time, I'm very guarded about what gets into my head and what gets into my energy, into my vibe. Before teaching you all, most likely, unless I talk to Jen before the lesson, I don't get into no heavy discussions because I'm trying to stay focused for this. So I see where I have people now being much more specific. You understand how you like your things. Like Kimberly Washington is saying, a thing that makes you well is order. You said that you like to have your things be in a certain way. I'm the same way, Kim, because my life can be all over the place. I got to travel. I got to be here, there. When I go back to my home space, it's very ordered. because so much of my life is kind of like that, right? That I need that order as well. I understand that. I see Teresa saying, being kind to your mind and your body, having time to pray and connect with God, having a set routine. Okay, so here's what happens then. I'm going to move past it. You all in that red space, in that first sphere of self advocacy, it's being clear about what you need. Some of you may say, it's my quiet time. And by quiet time, I mean, like Alice is saying, I want to be in worship for about 20 minutes. That is not the time that I want to be on the phone. That is not the time, whatever that looks like for you, right? Then as you work through that sphere, right, it is being very clear about what makes me well. Now I'm going to give us another question. What type of people make you well? So we've picked like whatever our atmosphere needs to be like. Now if we were in cohort work or we were in individualized work, we would spend so much more time talking about the self, but I just want to give us examples, right? So that's what that looked like. You can sit with it. That's your takeaway, even as we're processing it. You can sit with it more, but it's being very clear. These are the types of atmospheres that make me well. Now we're moving to people. What type of people make you well? For me, it's people who know how to give and take. I'm naturally a giver. So I need y'all to be specific. If you just tell me something like kind people, what do you mean by that? So let me give you an example. For me, it is people who really understand the nature of give and take, right? Because I'm naturally a giver. I'm going to host. Those who know me up close and personal know I can get one piece of cake. I'm probably going to cut it 13 different ways because I'm going to try to make sure that everybody gets some. If I host an event, I'm going to try to invite as many people as possible. Giving blesses my life. But I need people in my life who are up close and personal, who are also givers and takers. Because what becomes a drain for me is to give repeatedly and give repeatedly and give repeatedly, and to realize that those people who are close never give anything back. They're comfortable with saying thank you. They're comfortable with coming. They're comfortable with being blessed, but they never give anything in return. I don't want to exist in my close up spheres having to watch that. When I have to hold back on giving because the person is a taker, it makes me not well. So, in my close space, in my red space, in my heart space, I need people who automatically know how to give and take, who are reciprocating types of people. Why do I specify? Because you have people who are takers, who are believers, and they're kind people, right? So that's why I'm pushing us to be very specific in what we describe, because even if you just say, I'll pick on like Kimberly Washington, authentic people. Well, there are liars who are authentic people. There are backstabbers who are authentic people. They're authentically liars. What you're probably indicating is you need in that authenticity, you're saying, when the people are with me, I need them to say what they mean and mean what they say so that I know what I'm dealing with. We want to be very specific about the red space. You will hear me clearly and why I'm pushing you. You won't be able to do all of that work right now with me, but you sit later and you really think about what makes you well. You really think about what makes you well. Clearly define that space, because that red space is that heart space. It's the space that hugs you close. It's the space that you hug close. And when we're not clear about what that needs to look like, then we find ourselves letting people in and out of these different spheres who really don't belong there. And it is okay to understand that everybody does not have to be in your up close and personal heart space. That's a part of self advocacy, is understanding, what do I need? What makes me well? I'm no longer existing in this type of space where it's just open ended and I take inherited folk and guest folk and folk who just walked on in through the door and somebody that I met over there and whoever I bumped into over here. And because she's a part of the church home that I go to, like there's some measurements within it. Now you'll see, of course, that this self-advocacy sphere has different realms, right? So there's space for everybody. There's space in the green zone, which mostly says it's a go. It's a go. They're good with me. I can go hang with them. I can go to the conference with them. We can go to the beach together. It's a go. It's good. That green, it's a go. I don't really have these problems. It's good. And but at the same time, it's not my necessarily my inner sphere, and that's okay. That doesn't make a person bad or wrong just because they're in your green zone, which means it's pretty much a go. I'm good with them. We don't have to make them wrong just because they're not in our inner circle. And the reality is we can't all be in everybody's inner anyway. We don't have enough energy or emotional capacity to be in the inner of everybody that we know. Okay. But the green is pretty much, it's a go. And as much as I can tell, they're good for my life. Maybe they're my accountability partner, and all we do is we go walk and work out together. It's a go. Because those people don't have to be everything to us. But it's a go. It's good. It's good. You said we're going to lunch together. It's good. Y'all got that? It's good. And I'm moving kind of quickly so we can go ahead and wrap up. And then we have the blue, y'all. And the blue doesn't represent anything other than it's a spirit further away. And it kind of puts us in the mindset of just thinking about it, just getting clarity about it, just kind of understanding who's out there. That could be your accountant. That could be, well, I want my accountant up close and personal because that's my money. But that could be your lawn guy. That could be the banker. That could be the regular person that you see at HEB when you go to do your grocery shopping. They're still in your connection and they're in your sphere. And they're people that you do some level of life with. But you're not going to be at the counter in HEB trying to tell her your deepest secrets and your lowest lows, right? And it's learning that it's okay to really be clear about what makes me well and pulling close what does, and then extending grace to move some things and some people out. But here is the part, y'all, and we'll wrap up here. I actually wrote it in my notes because I said, I do not want to forget to tell you. We have to stop giving excuses for people who violate our spheres and try to just barge into our worlds and do and operate however they desire to do and operate. And we don't say no. If you understand, let's stop sharing here. Y'all got this picture if you need it? Y'all good? If you understand that when you give your prayer request to like a prayer partner, right? And let's say that prayer partner takes the liberty to share that prayer request. And she says, because this is my prayer partner and we pray about everything. You have the right to put boundaries around and to not make excuses for people who violate what make you well. Now, those boundaries, hear me, do not necessarily always look like you correcting them. It looks like you correcting you. It looks like you being observant enough to see what's happening amongst the people that you've pulled close and making those critical decisions to even be uncomfortable enough to switch it up if you have to. Many of us operate as if people have the right to have a space in our life. We operate as if we owe them the details of our story. We operate as if we're obligated to let people in. I'll go back to what I said. You have a right to be well, and you have the responsibility of being well. And sometimes it is uncomfortable to realize that my A1 since day one has always been a little bit jealous of me. Truth be told, she's always kind of made those off the wall comments. She's always kind of took her little cheap shots or threw a little bit of shade my way, or always been conveniently busy when it's time to celebrate me. And I've always kind of picked it up, but I just kind of went with it because, we all working through stuff. No, there comes a time when we stop making excuses for the inner people to not show up correctly in our lives. We stop making excuses for the person who can never give a compliment, who can never celebrate us, who can never show up, who don't by now know our favorite color. God bless Queen Elanora, don't know our hair color, our eyes. We stop making excuses for the people who are close to us to not see us, and we stop making excuses for us not to see ourselves. Here's my final comment on all of this. Here's my final comment. As we wrap up this week, understanding that we talked about Queen Elanora and her invisibility and her inability to see herself. And we've done the work in some parts, in some measure, of trying to understand how we began to become invisible, what have been the results of that, and what can we do differently. Here's my question to you. What piece of yourself that you now see again are you determining? I'm going to take that back. That piece of me that was somewhat erased, that piece of me that was chipped away at, that piece of me that was almost dismissed, what piece of you, sis, are you committing to going and getting back? Like I'm telling y'all, I'm showing up at every engagement like I'm the keynote. And guess what? I keep being the keynote. I'm showing up because you know what I'm getting back? My voice. I'm intentionally going after my voice because I recognize that my voice has wisdom, it has value, and it has worth. And I'm going to bring this whole voice to the table. I'm going after every time I played it small, every time I said no thanks, every time I recommended somebody else instead of myself, every time I turned down the opportunity, I'm going to get my voice back. What are you getting back? What are you getting back? What are you getting back? And we're going to cover that in prayer. While y'all are putting that in the prayer request, because I'm going to call some out, I want to give you this update. Look, honeys, April is about to be really full for me because we're getting ready sincerely to roll out an $8 million plus grant. I want to remind you, this will be the occasion. April the 15th, I will be teaching in person at Brook Hollow. I'm going to hold on doing a separate prayer for now. So everybody who had paid to come to the prayer, you have your refunds. I have sent that back with a good, I'll see you later kind of thing. And we're going to do those moments of prayer right here in the community. That's what I'm going to do in the interest of time. I'm going to be asking you to cover me in prayer in April. It's going to be super busy. And your girl will also be prepping to take that test so that I can be a licensed therapist and open my own private practice that takes insurance, by the way. I'm grateful for what God is doing and the many open doors that He has already established for my life, where I'm taking by faith the authority to walk through them. Cover me in prayer, but join me in person April the 15th if you're wanting some of that good energy. And other than that, for now, we're going to meet right here in the community Monday through Friday. So even the prayer separate time, I'm going to pull that right back here so that we can be live and pray together. All right. I see you all saying your different things that you are taking back, and I celebrate that. Y'all celebrate another queen. I see my value. I see my confidence and strength. I see my time. Teresa, thank you. I receive that. Thank you. Y'all make me tear up. Y'all supposed to be talking about yourselves. Y'all over there talking about y'all proud. Thank you. I appreciate it. Man, I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Somebody said you're ready to kick your feet up at my talk. Yeah, I'm going to do a TED Talk this year. Y'all bless my heart. Thank you. Makes me tear up. I'm showing up and bringing out my smile. That's so great, Darkest. That makes me proud. My voice, my time, my boundaries back. Excellent. Excellent, y'all. Let's get ourselves back. I'll say what my baby said the other day, Nija. She said, finally feeling like myself again. May God continue to do that in each of us. So we're wrapped up right there with our first quarter of the year, y'all. We've done good. I'm proud of us. Y'all proud of us? We've done good. We've hung in here together, y'all. And we're only going more. So don't be shocked in the fourth quarter when you start seeing our quantity and our folk here. They're going to start coming in here. Y'all, we're going to be real nice to them. We're going to be real nice to them. Y'all, we're going to be real nice to them, okay? We're going to welcome them in with loving arms. I'm going to keep rolling out the welcome mat. Y'all going to keep on coming and saying, y'all are welcome over here. But you watch what God is about to do. I'm telling y'all, he's this thing that we're doing, it's about to take its rightful place in the kingdom because God already established it before I was formed. He already knew. All right, so God, I thank you. I thank you for the work that we've done here in the community in this first quarter. I thank you for the invigoration that you've poured into so many women as they find themselves like really beginning to feel themselves again and see themselves again. I thank you that you really are renewing our minds and you're pulling down every stronghold. You're pulling down every thought that seeks to exalt itself. You're pushing back those spiritual hosts of wickedness and those principalities that sit and they scheme and they target us and they throw their fiery darts at us. We are declaring by faith, Father, that we will be who you've already established. So thank you for reviving us. Thank you for breathing into us. Thank you for fortifying us and giving us the fresh wind and that fresh energy. Thank you for giving us a safe space where we get to come and explore and do the work of being well and do the work of being whole. We are declaring, everybody, I am well and I am whole. In the true theme of 2023 here in the community, we continue to declare that we are well and we are whole. We are well and we are whole. We see ourselves like you see us. We are well and we are whole. Now, grace us to step into that by faith. Connect us even the more. May we huddle close and support one another as we truly defy what the world has said. The world says that we have to compete, that we have to be catty, that we have to tear one another down, that we have to compare. But here in the community, nah, we're declaring we're better together. We're better together. I need you. I need them. I need them to survive. They need me to survive. So, God, we lean into your kingdom principles and we declare that we are mature women who understand that you said, let us. And if you said, even you, the great I am, that you existed in relationship from the beginning of time, we choose to exist into relationship. We're working at trusting. We're working at moving past hurts from other folk. And we're declaring over here, God, that we want to be connected to you. We want to be connected to each other. We're better together. We love you. We honor you. And we give you praise. It's in Jesus' name that we do pray and we do believe. And the folk leaned on the love button, honey, because they are proud of what we have done over here in the community for the first quarter of the year. Y'all, we got to go, right? It's so time to go. And I need to run over across the street to the conference center. So I love you guys. Thank y'all for everything. Thank you for your kind words today. Thank you for every gift sown in the first quarter of this year. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. It brings about this sense of deep appreciation for the work that we're doing here. So for each one of you, you know, I can go back and see all of the names. Can't call them all today, but thank you for every single person from January through March who has paused to say thank you in very meaningful ways. The notes, the gifts, the monetary deposits, and all of that stuff. Thank you. And listen, for those of you who haven't, you're wrong. You're wrong, but you're going to reap what you sow. And so that's going to be that. But I call those things out because I will never again allow myself, Teresa, to be in spaces where people don't handle me correctly and I pretend that I don't know. So if you're here and you're regularly here and you're showing up and you're being blessed and you're taking and you're taking and you're taking, well, I will never block you. I will never not allow you to participate. I push you to understand that you reap what you sow, and how you regard and handle the gifts and the community and what we're doing over here. It's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of you. And I won't allow myself to know it and not acknowledge it, because I've done that before, where I've allowed people to exploit and take advantage and be blessed and blessed and blessed by what I do and don't even say thank you. That's not right. And you're wrong. But to all of you who do it and who do that graciously, and that's not a push to have that, it's just to correct you so that you can do better. And it's me being an advocate for myself, saying, I understand my worth. Even when people take advantage of it, I understand my worth. And I'll never play like I don't again. And I encourage each of you to operate like that. For each of you to operate like that, with whatever you provide, whatever service you provide, even if you do it at preferred pricing or at discounts, it's saying, I understand that I'm giving you a discount and I'm giving it to you for much less than what I'm worth, but I'm never going to pretend like I don't know my worth anymore. I've been through that journey. I will never And I encourage you to do the same, to hold your head up, to own what you own about you, and be unapologetic, especially when you're serving people. Y'all get that? I'm saying all this stuff in love so that we can operate in integrity. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? You saying that's the truth. Amen. So, with that being said, though, for everybody, though, who has expressed your love, who's at least paused to say thank you or to send a note, I appreciate it. I appreciate it because I'm doing my work too. I'm pushing past insecurities and self worth and all that stuff too. So I take a stand for me now. And I encourage you to take a stand for you too. All right. Goes both ways. Those are principles. But anyway, as always, I honor the greatness that's on the inside of you. We'll be right back here for prayer in the morning. All right. See you then. All righty. Bye bye.